In this recording, we are going to look at colorizing black and white photos in Photoshop. Now, this works equally well in Photoshop Elements. Your first job is, of course, to access a black and white photo. I happen to have one here. Now, step one, if you notice here, it says gray. Black and white is actually grayscale, which is a series of shades of gray. That's fine for black and white, but if we wish to colorize, we need to change something called the mode. The easiest way to do that is to come up to Image, Mode. See how grayscale is ticked off? Let's go to RGB color, which is what we most often work with in Photoshop. Now we have a number of other things to deal with. First off, this is a JPEG. That's really not great for doing extended work. You really wish to save it as a PSD. The second thing, we have converted it to RGB. The mode is now RGB. It's a locked background. I like to double click on the image to unlock it so we can work with it. Now I changed the file type to Photoshop document so I can easily add a new layer. Alright, so you come to Layer, New, Layer, and Mode. This is where it gets tricky. For the new layer, you select Color. You can always change it later. I like to also name this. I'm going to start colorizing my old photo with Skin. So I'm going to name this layer Skin, and the mode is Color, as you can see. To explain what we're going to be doing, you have to understand we're going to use the lower layer for selecting areas, and then we're going to jump up with the selection to the layer we're going to be colorizing. We've selected the color mode for that layer, and we're going to essentially either brush or use the paint bucket to apply the color to that layer. When some people colorize a photo, they put all the colors on one layer. I find that a bit of a mistake because later on, if you wish to make modifications, they're all on one layer. It's quite difficult. I like to put all the skin, or perhaps I might put this jacket on one layer. So the first thing we need to do is we need to be on the bottom layer, and we need to start selecting the skin. I find in most cases the best tool for that is the fairly new quick selection tool. It's really fantastic, and if you couple it with holding the shift key, what you can do is just click on areas you wish to color. Don't be afraid to zoom in. I'm going to do a very fast job here. Click on areas that you wish to color. You can actually kind of paint them by clicking and holding. And there's your selection. Now remember, this selection is on this layer, so we're going to jump up to the next layer, the skin layer, and we're going to apply the color. We can do that in two ways. We can either use the brush or the paint bucket. Let's start with the brush tool. Okay, now this is the color we're going to apply. And it's wrong. I wish to know exactly what the skin color of different ethnic groups are. These people are obviously Caucasian, so we're going to call up and have on screen the skin tone RGB values. RGB values can be found here. They can be easily typed in. I've opened a document that has skin tone RGB values and CMYK values beside it for 3 common ethnic groups. I'm going to come here and click 227, 176, 227, 176, and 149. And you just type them in, or you can use the slider. And there we go. There's our skin tone. So now we're going to just paint it, and you just click on and paint. Now that looks a little severe. We can always drop it. Okay, just quickly You can also use the paint bucket. Now you see, way too severe, but again, we're going to just drop the intensity of that and just play with that till it looks a lot better. Now the real trick to working with images like this is colorizing, and as you can see, I've used the quick select tool to grab the coat, but in the process I grab more than I really wish to. So you should be familiar with your selection tool options. By clicking on the minus tool, the minus brush, I can take away from the selection, and that's as easy as just kind of painting away what you don't wish. And as you can see, it works quite well. Sometimes you go a little too far, you have to go back, but some areas are tricky. Don't be afraid to zoom in to see what you've done. Now I should also remove the fingers, but that looks pretty good. I should remove some of the striping and that pin, etc. But we're going to work with this. So again, I make a new layer, and for mode I pick color, jacket, and we come over here and we sample a different color. I'm going to go with a kind of a navy and see how that goes. And I'm going to try the paint the bucket. Now again, not doesn't look the best. I find in a lot of cases with these layers you have to bring down the opacity to really make it look appropriate. Okay, so then you deselect, either Control D, or you come over to Selection and deselect. Okay, then you just save your work out as a JPEG and you have colorized your old photo. Have fun.